back to the deep dive. I think we've all been there.
Mm.
You know, you understand English pretty well, but then you completely freeze up when it's time to actually speak.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, we're going to dive into that very struggle today,
Yeah,
figuring out why it happens,
you're right.
and more importantly, what we can actually do about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with this. It's almost like you have all the ingredients for like a delicious meal,
Uh-huh.
but then you never actually cook it. You've got the knowledge, but you haven't quite figured out how to put it all together in real time.
Oh, that's such a great way to put it. Our sources actually point to this thing called an input-output imbalance as a major culprit.
Hmm.
I'm picturing like one of those old school scales
Yeah.
with one side totally way down.
That's a perfect image because think about it reading articles and you're like the ones you sent me listening to podcasts, even binge watching shows. All of that is input.
Right.
You're taking in information.
Yeah.
But speaking, that's output. And if you're constantly absorbing English without actually producing it, that gap between understanding and speaking, just keeps getting wider and wider.
Total makes sense. It's like, I can read a whole cookbook,
Right?
understand all the steps, but ask me to whip up a souffle,
Yeah,
and I'd probably burn down the kitchen.
exactly. Or imagine like someone explaining all the rules of soccer to you.
Okay.
You might grasp the concepts, but actually getting on the field and playing the game is a totally different ball game.
So how do we bridge that gap? Is it just a matter of forcing ourselves to speak even when we feel totally awkward?
Well, that's definitely part of it, but there's also like a whole mental game involved too. A lot of times we get tripped up by this fear of making mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this little voice in our head saying, don't speak unless you're absolutely perfect.
Oh, my gosh. I know that voice all too well.
Right.
It's like stage fright, but for everyday conversations.
Well, here's the thing, though. Mistakes are actually a good thing. Yeah, they're like little feedback signals that help us learn and improve faster.
Mm.
Think about it. Even native English speakers, they make mistakes all the time.
Oh, for sure.
They stumble over words, mispronounce things. It's all part of the process.
So it's less about avoiding mistakes altogether and more about just kind of shifting our perspective on them.
Exactly. The initial goal isn't to sound like a Shakespearean actor or anything. It's
Right.
more about just communicating your message clearly and effectively.
Oh, okay. That takes a lot of pressure off. Already feeling a bit more courageous.
Good.
Now, there's this other sneaky thing that I personally struggle with. It's what I call the mental translation trap.
Uh-huh.
It's like I get stuck translating everything in my head before I can speak,
Yeah.
which just makes conversations super choppy.
The mental translation trap.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a common pitfall, and it really slows down fluency for sure.
Yeah.
It's like imagine trying to run a race while carrying a heavy backpack. It just doesn't work very well.
Okay, so how do we ditch the backpack? Do we just, like, will ourselves to think in English?
It's more about training your brain to think in English.
Okay.
Like you can start small. Imagine you're looking at a table.
Right.
Instead of thinking mesa or whatever the word is in your native language, try to immediately think table in English.
So basically bypass that translation step altogether
Right.
and connect the object directly with the English word.
Exactly. That's the idea. You can gradually increase the complexity too.
Okay.
Like describe what you're doing as you do it, in English. Like I'm brushing my teeth or I'm making coffee. It might feel a little silly at first, but it really helps.
I love that it's like giving your brain a mini workout in English.
Exactly.
So we're shadowing native speakers, we're practicing quick-fire questions, we're basically living in our own English-speaking world inside our heads.
Right.
What else can we do to boost our spoken fluency? Especially if we don't have tons of opportunities to actually practice with other people.
That's a great question, and it's something a lot of learners struggle with for sure. But luckily, there are some creative techniques we can use to get that real-world practice, even when it seems hard to come by. One that's incredibly effective is called shadowing. Have you ever heard of that?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically mimicking native speakers,
Right.
know?
Exactly.
trying to copy their pronunciation and the rhythm.
Yeah, it's like you're their vocal shadow.
Uh-huh.
It might feel a bit strange at first, but it's a fantastic way to internalize those subtle nuances that make spoken English sound natural.
So if I'm listening to a podcast like this one,
Mm-hmm.
I could try like repeating phrases or sentences
Yeah,
right after the speaker.
you got it. And you could even try exaggerating the intonation or the rhythm at first, just to really get a feel for it. And the cool thing is you can shadow anything, podcasts, movies, YouTube videos, even people you overhear on the street.
That's so cool. I'm already thinking of all the different things I could shadow. So it's like a sneaky way to practice speaking without having to come up with your own words.
Exactly. And speaking of coming up with words, another great technique is practicing with quick fire questions.
Ooh, that sounds intense. What's the
Yeah.
idea behind that one?
Well, it's all about training your brain to think and respond quickly in English,
Okay.
which is, crucial for smooth conversations. Imagine someone asks you, what's your favorite movie?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of spending 5 minutes overthinking it, you could just fire back with The Princess Bride. It's a classic.
I love that. It's like a mental agility workout
Yeah,
for your English skills.
exactly. You have to be on your toes and ready with an answer.
And the best part is you can practice this anywhere, anytime. You could even make it a game with a friend. Challenge each other with random questions and see who can respond the fastest.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it would definitely make practicing a lot more fun. And it brings up a question I had about thinking in English.
Okay.
We talked about starting small, like naming objects and describing actions.
Yeah.
But how do we take it to that next level of full-on conversations?
That's where simulated conversations come in.
Hmm.
Even if you don't have a language partner, you can still practice speaking by acting out scenarios in your own head.
I like this so I can pretend like I'm ordering food at a restaurant.
Right.
Or like asking for directions.
Exactly. You could even practice different scenarios like making a doctor's appointment or giving a presentation at work. It's like giving yourself a personal English speaking rehearsal.
That's brilliant. And it's something you can do anywhere without feeling self-conscious.
Yeah.
What other techniques do we have in our arsenal?
Well, here's one that can be a bit daunting at first, but it's incredibly valuable recording yourself speaking and then listening back.
Oh, man. I've tried this before.
Yeah.
And it can be a bit cringeworthy,
Yeah.
but I totally get why it's helpful.
Right. It gives you that objective perspective that we often lack. When we're just speaking in our heads, you might notice pauses or areas where you stumble or pronunciation patterns that you weren't even aware of.
It's like having your own personal language coach, pointing out areas for improvement. So how should we approach this? Just pick a topic and start rambling.
You could definitely do that. Or you could try reading a short passage aloud or even having a conversation with yourself in English.
Mm.
The key is to listen back with a critical ear and take notes on what you want to work on.
Yeah, it's like having a replay of your English speaking game. Like you can see the good moves, the fumbles, and figure out how to level up next time.
Right, exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment with different recording methods, too.
Okay.
You could use your phone's voice memo app or a dedicated recording device or even just talk to yourself in front of a mirror.
I love that visual. Talking to your real voice. It's like having a built-in conversation partner.
Huh?
Okay, so we've got a whole toolkit of techniques now to tackle this spoken English challenge. But before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your final thoughts. What's the biggest takeaway you want our listener to walk away with today?
What's really striking to me is that so much of this comes down to mindset.
Mm.
It's about shifting our focus from perfection to progress.
Right.
And embracing those mistakes as stepping stones.
It's like that saying, the expert at anything was once a beginner.
Exactly.
We all start somewhere,
Mm.
and the key is to keep practicing and keep pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zones.
I completely agree. Fluency isn't a destination, it's a journey.
Yeah.
So be patient with yourself, celebrate those small wins, and never stop exploring new ways to improve.
Such great advice. So to recap, we've busted the myth that you need to be a grammar guru to speak English confidently.
Right.
We've learned to embrace mistakes as our secret weapon, and we've discovered a whole arsenal of techniques to boost our fluency.
Yeah, from shadowing native speakers to practicing quick-fire questions to having full-blown conversations in our heads.
Right.
There are so many ways to make progress, even if you don't have a ton of real-world speaking opportunities.
I'm feeling so inspired and ready to put all of this into action. What's one small step our listener could take today to get started?
Here's a challenge. How about this pickup? Just one of the techniques we talked about. And try it out for 5 minutes today.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just 5 minutes of shadowing or practicing quick-fire questions or even talking to yourself in the mirror.
5 minutes. That's totally doable. So there you have it, folks. No more excuses. It's time to ditch the fear, embrace the journey, and unlock the power of spoken English. Until next time, happy speaking.